I've heard some terrible tales over here about the way the brethren handle relatives of those that die in the church. When they claim their money from the family proceeds, oh no, the deceased wanted to leave the money to the testimony, which means to the Hales family. Because everything's under the control of that family. Another person told me that they will pay £1,000, back in the day they paid £1,000 to the non-brethren relatives as hush money to shut them up, so there was no protest. If they take the £1,000, their lips are sealed. They can never complain about the way the brethren apportion wealth. So the whole question of wills and testaments is all enshrined in the Hales' name, and his hierarchy are generally the trustees of the will, or whatever you call them, executors. So it's all very brethren dominated. Now, if the brethren are squeaky clean and have never defrauded anybody of any money and always made stuff up to specification, well, maybe they are utterly reliable. But I don't think so. I think any executors should own up to the truth. And if they are under the control of the Haleses, or have been under previous leaders, they need to be honest about that and basically say, we're pandering to Bruce Hales' dictates. He wants our money. He wants the money of the dead, and he will get it. Well, we're going to stop that now. We're going to actually put families in control of the money and the death of members. And if the family want to be equal to those outside, equally generous as those inside, let them be. My will is apportioned to my sons equally, both those inside and outside the brethren. So I don't make any difference to religion. So should the brethren? Should the brethren say, you are out, you've been excommunicated, therefore you can't have your share of the fortune? Shocking. And this whole separation law means they can get away with it. It makes no sense. It's a terrible, terrible law. John Howard, the ex-Prime Minister of Australia, was absolutely right when he said that the Brethren's separation law is objectionable. So is the withdrawal law. So we were deceived by the Haleses to believe that he was buddy with John Howard in influencing water projects and all sorts of economical developments across Australia. Excuse me. Anyway, I was at Ian and Hilary Boyce's the other day. Great guy, Ian. Typical Irishman, full of fun, very hospitable. We always used to, even the brethren used to love coming here, have great times together. They talk about things that English wouldn't, stiff upper lip. And just chill, pour the drinks, have a great time, and I've enjoyed that this last few days. But when I was at Ian's place in Donaghadee, he just came out with the Belfast Telegraph. And there are a few headings in this Telegraph which kind of piqued my interest quite a bit. One or two are Widow's mercy plea spares nurse from jail after she caused the death of her best friend. Well, that's what the brethren should do. There should be a plea for mercy of those that are excommunicated and support financially. But this woman was pleading, advocating for a woman who caused the death of her best friend. What a Christian spirit. That's what the Lord did. He advocated for those that needed his help, put as much down to ignorance as he could. This is a very God-fearing part of the world, I would suggest, in Northern Ireland and Ireland in general. Another heading, Reconciliation and legacy, interesting, must be the two touchstones if we are finally to get to a better place. Gail Walker of the Belfast Telegraph. I believe that guilelessness, reconciliation and care are the three touchstones of true Christianity. So it's very interesting that the paper are linking on with reconciliation. Next, can princes Harry and William overcome feud while king battles cancer? Or maybe we could ask, can Garth Christie and Lance Christie overcome their feud while Bruce Hales battles the forces? I mean, reconciliation again. Everyone wants reconciliation. Nasty people want division and breakup of families. Family is so precious, you should never break up families. Another heading, Samaritans need to talk. We're here 24/7. The brethren aren't like that. When I wanted to talk to them, went to their houses, they took me to court. Write them letters? Of course I want to talk. I put at the top, communication versus excommunication. Communication solves problems. Excommunication shoves them away, kills off any objection, buries them. So it comes back to haunt later. Next heading. New Stormont cannot be a rerun of personal and petty politicking. Well, that's exactly what's happening in the Brethren. We don't want any reruns of this politicking in the PBCC. That's why we've got to deal with it. It's been going on for certainly 60 years, and there were signs of it before. Next, faith is freeing rather than restricting. But religion can be used to control people. Alf McCreary speaks with Rev. Canon Kevin Graham, rector of St Bartholomew's Church of Ireland, Stranmillis, Belfast. So I will go through one or two of the points that Alf is making, and this wonderful Reverend Canon Kevin Graham. He was brought up a Catholic. His Presbyterian girlfriend, Cheryl, is now his wife. So great. There was cross-religion marriage, which I thoroughly support. As part of our journey, we decided to become members of the same denomination, and we joined the Church of Ireland. He's been an Anglican priest for over 20 years. And he said faith was just part of everyday life as growing up a Catholic in the 70s and 80s, just like it was for me in the exclusive brethren. As far as I understood, I didn't understand the layers of hierarchy. And then he was asked one or two questions. Is there a difference between being spiritual and being religious? Very good question. A huge difference, he says. There is too much religion in Northern Ireland and too many do's and don'ts. Religion is rooted in the word rule, and it can be too pharisaical, absolutely. Spirituality is about a way of life rooted in the rhythms of grace, aligned to the divine. This has its own boundaries too, but these are enabling rather than restrictive. What a wonderful statement. That freedom, the freedom of the Spirit of God, divine grace is enabling. You link in with what's far greater than you. You get a sense of the divine. Things work out, doors open, things come together. So although your way may be closing down materially, and you may be giving your money away to the poor, you're enriching others, and that's far more fulfilling than having oceans of money in your bank account or in hidden trusts, which will catch up on you in the end anyway. And then, are you ever frustrated by your own faith or denomination? Yes, very honest. Well, if brethren are frustrated by their faith, they should say yes to that question. After all, it's made up of imperfect people, just like myself. So at times we can get it all wrong or focus on the unimportant. I'm part of that problem too. What a humble man. I wish Bruce Hales would admit that he was part of the problem. I wish he would say that he's one of the imperfect people rather than saying he's the Paul of the day, the man of God. So this is true Christianity. And I can just tell by looking at the face of this dear man that he's genuine. And we have a sense, we have a gut sense. Maybe a bit of the divine in us. Don't want to say too much because I appreciate the atheist view, take it on board. But that bit of God in us that would never hurt anybody, that would be kind, never ever take advantage of anybody else. Awful. That's the spirit of Antichrist, to hurt others. So let's keep humble. Is your faith fulfilling its mission in Northern Ireland? Well, I guess we should ask the PBCC whether they are fulfilling their mission to help the poor and to help the wider community. They get their charitable status for helping in the wider community, not just giving out hot burgers at disaster sites to put on a show to make governments think that they are worthy of charitable status. So his answer is, I hope that I bring God's love to people through my life and ministry, not just my work as a minister, but through how I live my life in general, which is guided by my faith. So we want to see the Hales family living a life that's attracting myriads to them because it's guided by faith, not money, not avarice. What misconceptions are there about your faith or denomination? He says there's probably a long list of misconceptions about faith, that it's restrictive, conservative, old-fashioned, irrelevant, and many others. For me, faith is freeing rather than restricting. But religion can be used to control people, like we've just said. Maybe that is how others see all faith and misconceive what faith is really about. See, this is the problem with our democratic societies, that faith has taken a back seat to the law, to legality. And when you lack morality, you need legality. That was the problem in the epistle to the Galatians. They were legalizing, using the law, because they'd left Christ out. And that's the problem with the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church. I'm not seeing brightness for Christ. I'm seeing pretense and toothpaste smiles, but I'm not seeing heartfelt love for Christ radiating out like luminaries from heaven because you love Christ. Now you might say I'm blind, and there were sparks of it when I was inside. I think it said in Eli's day, the lamp had not quite gone out, as though it's all pretty faded. Well, I'm saying that there's probably enough there to spark into life, so long as people fearlessly stand for the truth and take issue with evil. The Lord needs to help you do that, obviously. And there are many outsiders who would help you, people you've chucked out. I really think that they should be used because they can see the issues. They're outside of all the influences, the control, the mind control, the psychological control, and are looking back in from a wider perspective. So that's why I suggested to Bruce Hales more than once that he should have Peter Harrison from Palmerston North, New Zealand, into Sydney to preach and take readings, because he had a clear vision of what was needed. He had the solution, and he would have brought in healing. He was one of the greatest men I've ever met, probably the greatest, and died at the end of 2022. I miss him terribly. But rather than invite him in, Bruce Hales maligned his letters, along with mine, in a big reading, I think in April 22, if I remember rightly, in London. Shocking. He was a faithful minister of Christ, and the Palmerston North Brethren need to recognise that. They were visiting him right up to his death, and they did not grant him his desire to see his son, James, who was in the Brethren Fellowship. That's an outstanding matter, and it's serious. I feel cut up about it. Why are so many people turning their backs on organised religion? People in general are less inclined to accept any authority or authoritative voice. Church scandals have added fuel to that fire. How can a scandalous church preach with authority? And a church which is increasingly exclusive drives people away too. Well, people are trapped in the exclusive, Brendan. I think many would love to break free. And they are driving them away by the way they're punishing people and wielding this separation doctrine and withdrawal doctrine. But they're tied by money because of the massive wages they get or massive wealth they own, and by family, because they're all tied in there. That's not the idea of Christianity at all. Christianity is all about people being free to do what they feel is best and contributing to the society in which they are by influencing policy. Not going to the top to a dictator for the word on what to do or what not to do, rules and regulations. Can't do this, can't do that, can't do the other. Can't go to the beach, can't have non-brethren friends, can't have non-brethren wives, can only have the local brethren in the place to weddings. No, parents can't come to their son's wedding. Ridiculous. Rules and regulations have just gone crazy since 1960 when this awful separation doctrine. So if you bring in a legal rule, you have to have 1,000 others to make it work. It's a bit like you have to tell 1,000 lies to keep your lie on the road. And then he goes on, in a more pluralistic society, which Northern Ireland is becoming, we should all be challenged in our use of labels to describe the other, especially people of faith. So the brethren were labelled the open brethren, the deepest ditch in Christendom. They very quick to put the names of Sardis, Thyatira and all these judged churches against the Church of England, Church of Ireland, Catholics. But what about themselves? Oh no, we're Philadelphia. They're all going to come and bow down at our feet because we're God's chosen people. Load of nonsense. That's what I was told in there. I didn't quite swallow it. I just kind of chuckled a bit to myself, but didn't protest. Fancy twisting scripture that we are Philadelphia. We are God's assembly. We don't need a law because Bruce Hales is such a wonderful man of God. He's robbing people. Robbed me. And then a few more. Just where do you feel closest to God? Seeing God's handiwork all around brings me closer to God on each occasion. So just relax. Forget your money making. Just look at nature. Look at the universe. Look at the stars. Look at the sea. Find God. Look at the birds. Look at the trees. And find God in nature and calm down, relax. Give up on this endless pursuit of money. It speaks about bags of wind somewhere. Is it Habakkuk? You know, you make money for a bag with holes and all that stuff. Scripture is beautifully descriptive, and I really would love to inspire young people to look into Scripture, but we need inspiring leaders to get that interest in Scripture so that the the moral way becomes part of the fibre of your being. And you always want the best for people. Do unto others as you want done to yourself. That's the basic, but you can do better than that. You can actually do unto others better than you do to yourself. What a beautifully liberating bit of advice that is. So I just hope that helps to illustrate what I'm finding over here in Ireland, a far more fervent thirst after God than I'm seeing on the mainland.